The history of Friends. Introduction. The orange couch. Picture it. A cozy, slightly worn out orange couch in a coffee shop that somehow always has room for 6 people. This couch is the heart of our story. Before the world was connected by high-speed internet and social media, it was a different kind of hub. It was a place for real, face-to-face connection, for hashing out the small dramas and big questions of life in your 20s. This couch and the 6 people who made it their own would become one of the most significant cultural touchstones of the late 20th century. This is the story of how Friends came to be, how it conquered the world, and why, decades later, we still feel like pulling up a chair and joining the conversation. Chapter 1. The one where it all began. Our story begins not in New York, but in the minds of 2 writers, Marta Kaufman and David Crane. In the early 1990s, they were coming off a successful run on the HBO show Dream On. They wanted to create something new, something that felt authentic to a very specific and universally relatable time in a person's life. They remembered their own post-college years in New York City. It was a time of uncertainty and excitement, a period where careers were just starting or stalling. Romantic relationships were a confusing mess, and the most stable, important relationships you had were with your friends. In that unique life stage, your friends truly become your family. They are your support system, your confidants, your harshest critics, and your biggest cheerleaders all rolled into one. This was the simple, powerful idea they pitched to NBC in 1993. The original title for their 7-page treatment was Insomnia Cafe. It had a slightly edgier, more alternative vibe. As the concept developed, other titles were thrown around, including 6 of One and Friends Like Us. Eventually, they settled on the beautifully simple and direct title that said everything it needed to. Friends. The network, led by President Warren Littlefield, saw the potential. They were looking for shows that spoke to the Generation X demographic, and this concept felt fresh and real. It wasn't about a traditional family or a workplace. It was about the chosen family of friendship. NBC gave them the green light to write a pilot script. The stage was set, but now they faced the most crucial task of all, finding the 6 people who could bring these characters to life. Chapter 2. The one with the perfect cast. Casting is often described as alchemy, a mysterious process of finding the right ingredients and hoping for a magical reaction. The casting of Friends wasn't just alchemy. It was like capturing lightning in a bottle. The chemistry between the final 6 actors was so palpable, so genuine, that it blurred the lines between fiction and reality, but finding them was a journey filled with near misses and happy accidents. Ross Geller. The first piece of the puzzle was David Schwimmer. Crane and Kaufman had worked with him before and wrote the character of the lovable, melancholic paleontologist Ross Geller with Schwimmer's voice in their heads. He was the first actor cast, the anchor around which the others would be found. Phoebe Buffay. Lisa Kudrow was known to the producers for her recurring role as Ursula Buffay, a quirky waitress on another NBC sitcom, Mad About You. They loved her eccentric energy and thought she'd be perfect for the free-spirited, guitar-strumming masseuse Phoebe. In a stroke of genius, they later decided to make Ursula and Phoebe identical twins, creating a fun little crossover between the 2 shows. Joey Tribbiani. For the struggling actor Joey, they needed someone with charm, heart, and a touch of lovable dimness. Matt LeBlanc came into the audition with a story that was pure Joey. He had only $11 to his name. He'd bought a hot dinner the night before and figured he'd have enough for one more meal if the audition went poorly. His easygoing charm and comedic timing won the producers over instantly. Chandler Bing. Finding Chandler was tricky. They needed an actor who could deliver sarcastic one-liners without seeming mean, someone whose wit was a defense mechanism for deep-seated insecurities. Matthew Perry was perfect, but there was a problem. He was already committed to another pilot called LAX 2194, a sitcom about baggage handlers at the Los Angeles airport in the future. The producers auditioned hundreds of other actors, but no one had the unique cadence that Perry did. In a stroke of incredible luck, the other pilot wasn't picked up, freeing Matthew Perry to become the one and only Chandler Bing. Monica Geller. Courtney Cox was arguably the most famous actor of the group at the time, having appeared in Bruce Springsteen's Dancing in the Dark video and the Ace Ventura Pet Detective movie. The producers initially wanted her to audition for Rachel, but Cox read the script and felt a stronger connection to Monica. the obsessive-compulsive, nurturing mother hen of the group. She insisted she was a Monica, and her sharp, funny, and high-energy take on the character convinced them she was right. Rachel Green. The final and perhaps most difficult role to cast was Rachel. She was the character who sets the entire show in motion, bursting into the coffee house in a soaking wet wedding dress. They needed someone who could be a spoiled brat, but who the audience would still root for. After a long search, they found Jennifer Aniston. Like Matthew Perry, she was also committed to another show, a CBS comedy called Muddling Through. The Friends producers were so convinced she was their Rachel that they took a huge gamble. They filmed the first few episodes with her, hoping the other show would be canceled. If it had been picked up, they would have had to reshoot all of her scenes with another actress. Thankfully for television history, Muddling Through fizzled out, and Jennifer Aniston was free to become Rachel Green. With the 6 actors in place, they gathered for their first table read. The magic was immediate. They clicked, not just as characters, but as people. That genuine affection would become the secret ingredient that made the show so special. Chapter 3. The One with the Awkward First Date. Friends premiered on September 22nd, 1994. It was slotted into NBC's powerhouse Thursday night lineup, soon to be known as must-see TV, right after Mad About You and before Seinfeld. The initial reviews were lukewarm. Some critics found it derivative of Seinfeld, another show about New Yorkers talking about nothing. They called it Seinfeld Light. The pilot episode, while charming, hadn't quite found the show's unique rhythm yet, but audiences felt something different. They saw themselves and their own friends in the dynamics of the group. The first season was a process of discovery. The writers started to lean into what made each character tick. They discovered the comedic gold of Monica's obsessive cleaning, Chandler's fear of commitment, Joey's simple view of the world, and Phoebe's bizarre songs. And then there was Ross and Rachel. The will they or won't they dynamic between the two became the show's emotional spine. From the moment Ross whispered, "I had a major crush on you," the audience was hooked. Their story of missed opportunities, bad timing, and undeniable connection was the serialized romance that kept people tuning in week after week. By the end of season 1, the show was a solid hit. Then something happened that rocketed it into the stratosphere of pop culture. It wasn't a plot point, it was a haircut. Jennifer Aniston's layered, shaggy hairstyle, which came to be known simply as the Rachel, became an international phenomenon. Women around the world flocked to salons with magazine clippings demanding the look. It was the first sign that Friends wasn't just a TV show anymore, it was a cultural force. Chapter 4. The one where they became superstars. From season 2 onwards, Friends transformed from a hit show into a global juggernaut. The writing became sharper, the characters more defined, and the catchphrases entered the public lexicon. How you doin'? Smelly cat? And of course, the great philosophical debate of the 90s, we were on a break. The show's creators masterfully balanced sitcom stories of the week with long-running emotional arcs. The peak of the Ross and Rachel saga in seasons 2 and 3 was television at its most addictive. But just as that storyline reached a fever pitch, the writers pulled off their most brilliant pivot. At the end of season 4, during a trip to London for Ross's wedding, a drunken night between Monica and Chandler blossomed into a secret romance. This new relationship re-energized the show. It was heartwarming, funny, and deeply relatable, showing a different kind of love story, one that grows slowly out of a deep and abiding friendship. As the show's popularity exploded, so did the salaries of its stars. In a move that was unprecedented at the time, the 6 actors decided to negotiate their contracts as a single unit. They knew their collective chemistry was the show's greatest asset, and they vowed that they would all be paid the same or they would all walk. It was a real-life demonstration of the show's all-for-one ethos. Their solidarity paid off. By the final 2 seasons, each of the 6 main actors was earning an astonishing $1 million per episode. The show became a magnet for A-list guest stars. Julia Roberts, George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Bruce Willis, Reese Witherspoon, and many more lined up for a chance to visit Central Perk, a testament to the show's prestige and massive audience. Chapter 5. The one with the long Goodbye. All good things must come to an end. By season 8 and 9, the characters were no longer the confused 20-somethings of the pilot. They were growing up. Chandler and Monica got married. Rachel had a baby, Emma. Phoebe found stable love with Mike, played by Paul Rudd. The show's central premise, about that time when friends are your family, was naturally evolving as the friends began to build families of their own. The cast and crew felt the shift. The decision to end the show after 10 seasons was a mutual one. They wanted to go out on a high, to give the characters and the audience a satisfying conclusion rather than letting the quality slowly fade away. The final season was crafted as a long, emotional goodbye. Each episode felt like a curtain call for certain running gags and storylines. Finally, on May 6, 2004, the finale, titled The Last One, aired. An estimated 52.5 million viewers in the United States tuned in, making it one of the most watched television finales in history. The episode was a perfect blend of humor and heart. It tied up the major loose ends, most importantly, bringing Ross and Rachel back together. For good. I got off the plane. The final scene is one of television's most iconic. 6 friends stand in Monica's empty apartment, a place that had been the setting for so much laughter, love, and life. They each place their key on the kitchen counter and decide to go for one last cup of coffee. As they walk out, the camera pans across the empty apartment, finally resting on the purple door with its signature yellow picture frame. It was the end of an era. Chapter 6. The one that never really left. In the years after the finale, a strange thing happened. Friends didn't go away. If anything, it became more popular. Through constant reruns on television and later, a new life on streaming services like Netflix, the show found a whole new generation of fans. Young people who weren't even alive during its original run fell in love with these 6 characters just as their parents had. Why does it endure? Part of it is pure nostalgia. For older viewers, it's a portal back to a seemingly simpler pre-9/11, pre-smartphone world, but its core appeal is timeless. The show is the ultimate comfort food. It's an idealized vision of friendship, a warm, funny, safe space where problems are usually solved within 22 minutes over a cup of coffee. The themes of navigating love, career, and identity are as relevant today as they were in 1994. For years, rumors of a reboot or a movie swirled, but the cast and creators always wisely resisted, knowing that recapturing that specific magic would be impossible. Instead, in 2021, they gave fans the next best thing, friends, the reunion. The 6 actors returned to the original soundstage, sat on the orange couch, and reminisced. It was not a new episode, but a heartfelt look back. It was emotional, funny, and deeply moving, especially seeing the genuine, lifelong bond the actors still shared. It was a chance for everyone, the cast, the crew, and the global audience, to properly say thank you. The story of Friends was tinged with sadness in 2023 with the sudden and tragic passing of Matthew Perry. The outpouring of love from around the world was a testament to how much his portrayal of Chandler Bing meant to people. He was the master of the perfect punchline, the king of heartwarming vulnerability, and the loss was felt by millions who considered him a friend they'd never met. Conclusion: the warmth remains. The story of Friends is more than the history of a TV show. It's the story of a cultural moment, a masterclass in comedic writing, and perfect casting. It's a testament to the power of solidarity, both on screen and off. But mostly, it's a simple story about 6 people, an orange couch, and the idea that no matter how confusing life gets, things are always a little bit better when you have your friends by your side. The coffee in Central Perk may have gone cold and the keys may be left on the counter, but for generations of viewers, the warmth remains. They'll always be there for us.